right, Rube, a little bit of a surprise for this second preseason game. We see Jalen Hurts out there doing warm-ups, and all of a sudden, here comes number 7 running on the field.
There he was, Bobby Hoying, in all his glory. Yeah, it was definitely a surprise, and especially if you saw Jalen about 45 minutes before the game. I was actually right on the field doing my hit with Danny Pommel's for the pregame show. And, I'm looking at Jalen, and he looks like himself. He's, actually I didn't see him dancing and grooving around and all that, but he seemed animated and he seemed fine. I mean, there's certainly no sense that this was somebody who had to be hospitalized imminently.
Yeah, we'll get into all of it on the Eagle Eye Podcast with Ruben Frank. I'm Dave Sangaro. We'll start with Jalen Hurts. That's where we need to start, but we'll also kind of go through what was a really ugly game overall. Some stock up, stock down. We'll talk about Devontae Smith's preseason debut. But Jalen Hurts, we hear from Nick.
But the most important thing is at the end, and we're not going to give that away.
Yeah, that's a big tease, but it's a good one because the most exciting thing we saw tonight we'll talk about at the end. Jalen Hurts, it was kind of shocking to hear, first off, that he wasn't going to play because he looked fine in warm-ups, and we heard it was an illness, non-COVID related. After the game, we kind of find out the severity of it. He went to the hospital to be evaluated. He had what must have been pretty severe stomach pains. A stomach infection is the word from Nick Sirianni. Kind of shocking.
Is that even a thing? A stomach infection, I guess?
Yeah, I guess so.
Infected stomach. Yeah. It's all very weird. I mean, we basically had to. And, Nick's been really forthcoming with information since he became the head coach. He generally shoots us straight, and he's honest with us, but we really had to pry it out of him. And it might have been that it was post-game, and, I mean, his mind was on the game. It wasn't on Jalen Hurts at that point. It was on the guys that did play. But, I mean, it took a handful of questions before he let on that this was something that was serious enough to send him to the hospital.
Yeah.
And get checked out for and he says Jalen wanted to play. He was fighting me to play. Jalen did come back to the stadium after the hospital. He wasn't admitted or anything. They checked him out and he was fine. But he's a tough kid, so it had to be pretty serious to send him to the hospital.
Yeah, and we know how competitive he is, so he wants to play. It was mysterious, for that entire game, and it's easy, and I think a lot of us were thinking, like, what's going on here? You start to think about all the conspiracy theories. They start swirling in your head. But, from a football standpoint, I wanted to see him. I don't think he was going to play very long. And, it was pretty obvious that the Eagles are putting a ton of stock into these joint practices and not as much into the games. But this is a kid who's their starting quarterback. We just haven't seen a ton of him yet.
Yeah, Flacco kind of gave it away. I think, didn't Flacco say that he was expecting to play 2 series?
Yeah, that's what he said because Flacco was asked about kind of getting tossed in there early, and he goes, well, I was going to play pretty early anyway.
Yeah, so I think we would have seen Jalen probably for 2, maybe 3 series. Maybe not even that much, but he's played 10 snaps this preseason in 2 games. There's 1 preseason game left, and honestly, from Nick's comments post-game, doesn't sound like I could be reading him wrong, but it sure doesn't sound. He was asked about, if it's important for him to play next Friday, a week from tomorrow. The Eagles finish the 3-game preseason, and he said, "Well, he'll have a chance to play in those joint practices." That was his answer. That tells me he's not playing against the Jets.
Yeah, and he's been pretty consistent with valuing those joint practices, and I understand why because you have wrote a good story about it that he said what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. They can kind of use their full offense in the practices, but then again, they do play the Jets this year.
Week 13.
Yeah. I guess a lot could change by then, but
and he did say if the game had been earlier in the season, they wouldn't have done the joint practices. But Flacco had an interesting quote. He said, practice isn't games.
It isn't,
and
especially with Jalen, by the way, because he has a skill set that we can't see fully utilized in practices.
Yeah, I think he needs to play, and I feel pretty strongly about it. I know there's a school of thought that says just keep him healthy, get him to the Falcons. This is a 22-year-old kid who hasn't played a lot of football, didn't have a preseason last year, has played 10 snaps in the 2 games and completed 3 passes. A couple were dropped, but I think he needs to play. I think he needs to build up some chemistry with these wide receivers. and the backs and everybody, and just the process of, when you're out there in front of, I don't know how many people are going to be at the Meadowlands Friday night, 20, 30,000, but the lights are going to be on. It's national TV. There's a crowd there. There's going to be crowd noise to deal with, all things that he's not getting on the practice fields at the NovaCare complex or in Florham Park.
And the biggest thing is someone can hit you.
That's right. There's going to be a live rush.
Not that you want to get him hit, but you want him. There were some, not issues, but some moments in the last game where I thought he might have slid a little too late, and that's timing that you can't get in practice because there's no threat of getting hit.
That's a great point. And there's no live rush. It's a different animal. Practice is not games. And Flacco, he wasn't talking about Jalen. He was just talking in general. But it's, I think it'll be a mistake if he doesn't play.
Yeah, that was the big surprise. Not as big as a surprise was Devontae Smith playing in this game. Played a while, played longer than I thought. He got most of the first half.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the Eagles were moving the ball, so it wasn't a ton of snaps. But there was some good, there was some bad. I think Nick Sirianni admitted that he saw some what did he say?
He said he
anxiousness
was
or
skittish. Yeah, I forget the word, but he just was
antsy. He used the word antsy.
Antsy, that's good. Devontae said no, he wasn't. He blamed his technique and his eyes, but he looked a little, and it's understandable. He's never played. He's never played in an NFL game.
And those are some of the things, by the way, we saw from him early in training camp when he first got out there.
That's right.
He doesn't drop many balls, at least looking back at his tape from Alabama. He dropped a few early in training camp practices. He dropped a couple. They weren't perfect, but he dropped a couple he probably should have had tonight. And I think it was good for him to stay out there and to finally get some good reps and catch a couple balls.
And that, by the way, is why Jalen Hurts needs to play next week, too. The same reason that Devontae needed to play tonight. I think it was good that he was able to stay out there, and he didn't make huge plays, but he caught a 9-yarder and a 10-yarder and looked fine doing it. But you can see he can separate.
And that's the thing. It's like even the one he didn't catch or the two he didn't catch, he can run a route, man.
Yeah.
He's separating. And the one he did catch, that third down conversion, that comebacker, that was a heck of a route.
Yeah.
And that's one where you can see why a former wide receivers coach like Nick Sirianni really likes him. Nick's always talking about, stick your foot in the ground and go, and that was a perfect example of it.
Yeah, we didn't really see his speed
Not
tonight.
long speed, but
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's fine. He got his feet wet. We don't know how many reps, how many snaps he played yet. But, he played most of the first half. All the receivers did, which I don't mind, but they didn't get good work because Flacco was really inaccurate.
Yeah, and the O-line, they only started – that was another big part of Hurts not being there was since Hurts wasn't playing. If Hurts would have played, they would have started the offensive line, and they didn't. They only had 2/5 of their starting offensive line out there. And you had Matt Pryor at right tackle. So, he didn't have a good night. So it's
a rare off night for Matt Pryor.
So the whole thing was kind of disjointed, which stinks from the thought process where I wanted to see what these receivers could do, and it was kind of stacked against them because the whole thing was wonky.
Yeah, Flacco only completed, I think, 3 passes. I think he targeted the wideouts 7 times, completed 3 for 24 yards, the two to Devontae and a 5-yarder to Rager. Quez didn't catch a ball. None of them really had any opportunities. He targeted Rager on the interception.
That was a mess. That was
just a disaster.
Yeah, it was a throw that shouldn't have been thrown, and it wasn't a great effort by Rager. The whole thing was a mess.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Rager could have done there.
Yeah.
He doesn't know it's going to be intercepted. It's going to be batted up and intercepted, but it was just nobody got good work. None of the receivers got useful work. I guess Devontae did just because he was out there. But it was a big step. And I'll tell you what, Tuesday, what's today? Monday was the first day we even saw him out there.
Yeah.
Tuesday was the first day he did any teamwork. So to get out there 3 days after his first, individual drills and be able to play most of a half is pretty encouraging. And
I thought his performance was encouraging, even with the drops.
I would agree. I would agree because he's going to catch the ball.
When's the last time you just saw one of these receivers separate like that?
Well, Quez.
Yeah, but Quez did it with his speed, whereas Devontae really did it tonight with his route running.
That's fair.
We could say that with Deshaun. Like, Deshaun could separate with his speed, but
I mean,
not with his route running.
Sorry, Macklin is the guy that he reminds me the most of.
Yeah.
Macklin could do that, but it's been 7 years since he's been here. So, yeah. That's a funny thing because, like, even in the Super Bowl year, like Alshon and Torrey Smith had really good, and Nelly had really good postseasons, but none of them were.
Yeah, I guess Nelly's the guy who could sometimes separate with his routes.
Yeah, but not consistently.
Yeah, and he was doing a lot of that from the slot. This is different.
Yeah. So, I like him. I just like watching him, and it was just fun to have him out there and just be able to keep an eye on him.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought it was encouraging. I still want to see more. I think he'll play in the third preseason game, but I think if you watch that game, you come away thinking, all right, that was a good first step for Devontae, and you also see why Nick Sirianni wanted him to play.
Yeah, but again, he still hasn't taken a rep with Jalen Hurts since 2018. So I just think they need to be together for at least a couple series Friday night, and hopefully that happens. But yeah, he's going to catch the ball. That's going to happen. So the fact that he can separate is great. Hey, score big with the AAA Eagles MVP membership. Now, here's what you get. Along with the superb roadside assistance and discounts you've come to expect from AAA, you can now get exclusive Eagles-related perks. For all the details, visit AAA.com/Eagles.
So, Rube, I haven't even mentioned the score yet.
No, I know. We kind of I was hoping you wouldn't.
Yeah, it was 35-0. It was an awful performance.
But in the fourth quarter, the Eagles held the Patriots to just 3 points.
A big win. How do you look at this game? Because a lot of starters obviously didn't have their quarterback. They didn't have 3/5 of their starting offensive line. On defense, they sat all their defensive linemen and Darius Slay.
And the guys that did play, other than Singleton, Steve Nelson only played briefly. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess
the linebackers played.
Eric Wilson played a lot. Singleton played more than anybody. But, yeah, and even Miles, he played, but he didn't play much. I don't know. In a way, you never want to lose 35-0. It's embarrassing. You don't want that to happen. There were guys who are going to be on the team who were in those groups that did not play well, and that's the one thing that's discouraging. Like, Zach McPherson's been having a little tough time.
Sure.
Stuff like that. But for the most part, I don't put a lot of stock into it. You're talking about the Eagles minus their O-line and their D-line, which are the two strongest parts of the team, and their quarterback.
Yeah.
and the to go from Kelsey, Kelsey, Brooks, and Lane to Herbig, who's not. He just started playing center.
Yeah, and that early snap showed that.
Yeah, and who was it? And who was at right guard? I remember
Driscoll.
Driscoll was
who's
at right
learning
guard.
That position.
Yeah, who's just learning that position. And Matt Pryor. That's so. Yeah, and then the same thing on the D line. So I don't know. It was ugly. It was unfortunate. I do think it was embarrassing just because as long as you have Eagles on your jersey, go out and play with some pride. And I think there were points where they didn't really do that. A lot of missed tackles, especially in the second half. But again, you have Cam Newton, who's a former MVP, going up against Elijah Riley and Michael Jacquet and guys who aren't going to be in the league. It's going to happen. I wouldn't put too much stock into it, but it wasn't fun to watch.
Yeah, and even their backup quarterback, or who might be their starter, is a first-round pick, and he played like it.
He's pretty good, by the way. Boy, he can fire that football.
Yeah, there are some moments where you watch him throw, and you're like, oh, wow, okay, that's he's got something. It was, what do you make of the Eagles sitting all these starters?
I don't like it.
It's tough, and I get that they're really putting emphasis, and I agree with Sirianni that the joint practices in a lot of ways are more valuable, but it strikes me as a little, not disingenuous, that's too harsh, but since Sirianni's gotten here, he's preached competitiveness and competing on everything. Then you go into a game, you lose 35-0. You don't play your starters, and he said the other guys were competing. It didn't work. What do you make of that part of it?
I think it's a great point, and I mean, I don't think this game benefited anybody in this franchise. Maybe Devontae. I think, he set his team up for failure, really, by.
Yeah, and it's not like the end of the world.
No.
I don't want us to go overboard with it, but it was hard to watch. And honestly, I understand most fans are like, let's do whatever you have to do to put a good product on the field when the games count. People paid money to go sit and watch that tonight.
Well, I mean, I guess most people you have to buy the tickets, but parking and food.
You're forced to buy those tickets.
I think that, here's what I think.
It's a hostage situation over there.
It really is. It really is a hostage. I think on Tuesday is the last time we talked to Nick. He should have given us some sort of indication without saying, look, Slay's going to start and play one series. Singleton's going to start and play. Just say, look, the starters, some of them won't play. Some of them aren't going to play that much. Just so people know, you know what? Maybe I won't come down to the game and spend $40 to park and $60 for food, and
that might get him a talking to from the
but
organization.
There's a way to. I don't know. I don't think it's fair to fans to kind of sell. I mean, because when we talked to him Tuesday, he had to have some sense of his starters weren't going to play or weren't going to play that much. Like, even if Brooks and Kelsey and Lane had started, they weren't going to play that much.
Yeah.
I just think he owes it. I think the franchise owes it to the fans to kind of make that clear. This is what you're going to get.
It was tough to watch, and from an evaluation standpoint, I don't know how much we got out of it.
Yeah.
It was just so bad, and I guess. Like, a lot of those guys, you're right, aren't going to be in the league this year, but some of them will be. Some of those guys are going to be on this team.
Yeah.
Or they're going to be on the practice squad, and it was a disappointing showing for a lot of them.
Yeah, and it's tough when there's 11 backups out there. Like, two of them are going to – like, you have T.J. Edwards out there with 10 backups.
Well, like, late in the game, they're going up against the Patriots
True.
backups too.
Right.
I mean, that third-string defensive line, and I know it's a third-string defensive line, they've gotten pushed around now for 2 games.
Yeah, you're right. That's a position where the ones and twos, the ones are great, the twos are okay, and the threes are terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt Leo, like,
he
shouldn't even be out there.
Yeah, that's he's learning how to play the game.
Yeah.
In live reps, and it's not going well. Actually, toward the end, he had a couple decent rushes, but
yeah,
it wasn't good.
Yeah, so unfortunate, not the end of the world, but I do think it's really important that these guys play a little bit next week.
Yeah, and that's what do you expect? I mean, do you think guys are going to play against the Jets? Because I don't. Especially the way Nick was talking about he was talking about the joint practices again. They'll be Tuesday and Wednesday. The game is Friday next week, by the way, guys, because
why is that?
I don't know. We get so used to them playing on Thursdays, but the game is next Friday, so remember that. You might be thrilled when you turn the TV on Thursday and it's not on, but it's coming Friday.
Do you think there was an element of? I mean, a lot was made the last 2 days, or I should say Monday and Tuesday, that the Eagles really dominated, especially Monday.
They did,
and Belichick maybe was like didn't like what he was hearing, and hey, we're gonna put these people back in their place.
I don't know.
Put this rookie coach back.
But they did, and it was funny. I had a lot of people mad that we said they dominated, but they did. They
Sure.
clearly outplayed the Patriots in those 2 days, and I think it's fair to say both teams put more stock into the joint practices than they did the game. Maybe the Eagles a lot more than the Patriots,
right?
Judging on who played tonight, but I think overall the week is a success.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And again,
especially the way they're judging it.
Yeah, they're a lot more vanilla in the game than they are in the joint practices. They're doing more, they're trying more things. I think when you have threes when you have ones playing against twos and twos playing against threes, in some cases threes playing against some ones, it can get away from you. It can be ugly, really quick, and that's what we had. Yeah. But still, you can't lose 35-0. But the good thing is they never had to kick.
Yeah, because Jake Elliott didn't suit up for this game. I was watching Aaron Sipas in pregame warm-ups, and it was an adventure. I was kind of rooting for them to try some.
Yeah, you wanted to see
And
it.
actually, why not try it? Because it's not a bad idea to practice those emergency situations.
Well, I mean, the only chance they had, it would have been like a 48-yard field goal. So
Yeah, I know.
Probably not a good idea. Hey, it's been a year full of uncertainty, but one thing is certain: Independence Blue Cross can help you make the healthcare decisions that are right for you. Choose coverage you can count on with the region's strongest network, Independence Blue Cross. Learn more at ibx.com.
All right, Rube, I have my stock up, stock down hitting the site in the morning, so a little sneak peek.
And I was helping you all throughout the game.
You were. This is a sneak peek for those of you who are going to stay up late and listen to this before it hits the site.
Sneak peek.
Let's just go through stock up, stock down. Tell me if you agree, disagree, and then maybe some guys I missed.
I disagree.
Okay, stock up.
Oh.
Alex Singleton.
Yeah, he had one bad missed tackle, but
In the open field, but otherwise, I mean, he's everywhere.
He's everywhere.
He's fun to watch.
He is. You tweeted that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's really a different kind of linebacker than they've had around here. Just the guys that they've had are kind of smaller, active, safety-ish, run around, make plays, be around the ball. He's just a thumper.
He's around the ball, too, though.
Well, he's around the ball and running plays, yeah. I mean, you don't want him out there, covering wideouts.
Yeah, I mean, he can cover, though.
He's okay. He's
not Eric Wilson, but he can cover.
TJ Edwards with a nice little pass breakup today. Diving.
You're getting ahead of me here.
Sorry. Oh, my bad. But Singleton is solid. I mean, I don't know what the NFL record for tackles in the season is. He's like 216, but he might break that. He might average like 15 tackles.
It's funny. I think he has more tackles than snaps some games. He's just everywhere.
Yeah, he's really solid.
And I know that's impossible before anyone gets on.
No, because you could make a tackle, then the guy gets away, and then you go down the field and tackle him again.
TJ Edwards is also on the stock up list. I thought he had a good game. And he's a guy who's kind of been forgotten in this linebacker shuffle, but I liked what I saw of him. He almost had an incredible interception. He's around the ball more than someone who isn't considered a guy you want, and a guy that they pretty clearly don't want out there in pass situations. But he's around the ball a lot.
Yeah, and I think he'll play. They'll be. I mean, they're not gonna play a ton of three linebackers, but they'll play some. And again, he's a solid guy, and they're both undrafted. They're both. They're both practice squad guys. They're both guys who really had to work their way up.
Not TJ.
TJ was never on the practice squad?
Nope.
He was on a 53?
Right away.
As a rookie?
Yeah, he was my surviving camp feature the first year. So.
Interesting. But you know what I mean? They're both, this whole linebacker crew is pretty much guys who had to really fight their way into the NFL and play with, and they're not the most talented, not the fastest guys, but, he's a solid guy.
Yeah. It's funny, during the game I told you this, but after the first preseason game, it was hard to find stock downs because everyone –
right.
There was a lot of positives. In this game, it was hard to find stock ups. So some of these are a little bit of stretches. But Kenny Gainwell, I thought, acquitted himself fairly well in the third quarter. He got some nice runs. He caught the ball pretty smoothly out of the backfield.
He catches the ball really well. And I thought he was – you know what I liked about him? Like, there was so much slop around him. Mm-hmm. Like, nothing was really going well for the offense, but he was still able to make plays. He ended up with, 45 scrimmage yards.
Yeah, he had 21 on the ground and 23, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so it was 44, Dave. I was off by one. Sue me. I thought he was able to make plays. I think sometimes it's hard to – to make plays. I mean, he's got backup offensive linemen and who knows who at quarterback. Nick Mullins, who's just, God, just so bad. I just have a hunch. He had a passer rating of 0 last week, and his stock is down. That's hard to do. Like, how do you go down from 0? But Gainwell was able to kind of operate and function at a pretty good level with all this mess swirling around him, and I think that's hard to do, and I think it showed a lot. The kid was a 5th-round draft pick.
Yeah,
he's gonna help this team.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who the last Eagles running back drafted in the 5th round or later to have 200 rushing yards and 200 receiving yards as a rookie? It's never happened.
A lot of parameters.
There was too many parameters. I couldn't even. I made some of them up, I think. But
yeah.
He's going to help this team. He's going to make some plays.
I think so. Yeah, especially in the pass game. I think that's where he's going to fit in right away.
Yeah, I think he's an okay runner too, though.
Yeah, you know what? I've been impressed by him as a runner. He's a tiny guy. He gets kind of lost behind the big offensive lineman, and he seems to have good vision and patience in that area too.
Yeah, and go ahead. I don't want to jump the gun here on the next one, so go ahead.
Well, I don't know where you think I'm going.
Well, we'll see.
I was going to say Milton Williams, another rookie, third-round pick. Forced 2 holds, and I thought there was it was funny. There was another play where he got held, but someone else got held worse, and they called it there. But he's a handful as an end, and he's tough to stop.
Yeah.
I'd still like to see him play some inside reps in these preseason games.
Yeah, me too. It's interesting that he hasn't, but they seem to really like him outside. He's a force, and I think it's going to be a good. I mean, he'll have a good role. He'll have a good manageable role this year. They're not going to ask too much of him. He's going to go in there and be fresh against guys that are offensive linemen who are a little worn down, and he's going to bring a lot of power to the matchup. And I think it's going to be productive in limited reps.
And then my last stock up guy is actually Devontae. Just because I thought it was very beneficial for him to get in there. And I know there were a couple drops, but to see him out there running smooth routes, to see him getting that separation we talked about, I thought it was a very good positive step for him.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
The one guy I left off who I think you're probably going to mention was Jack Stoll, who had a really nice one-handed catch. And I think he ended up with
he was their leading receiver.
4 for 33. Yeah, 4 for 33. Yeah, he was fine. And with the absence of Tyree Jackson, he stepped up and played well.
And then Jason Kroom got
yeah, that was tough.
Yeah.
That was it looked pretty serious. They had the air cast out cart. It was nice to see the whole team go out there and wish him well. That's always tough, especially for a guy like that who's kind of clawing to stay in the league. To see, if you're a star player and you get hurt, you're going to come back. Someone's going to give you a shot, but you never know. I mean, that could be the last time he plays in the NFL, and that's tough to watch.
Yeah, I think about what was his name, Deshaun Hall.
Oh yeah,
got hurt on the last play of the season in 2019, and up at the Meadowlands, and he never played again.
Is that right?
He was in a couple camps.
He was a third-round pick.
He was a third-round pick. Yeah. So that does cross your mind. Kroom was a kid who caught a touchdown. His only reception last year. Who threw that pass?
Don't get me.
That was a really weak effort by me. But so all of a sudden the tight end position, is a little thin.
Yeah, Tyree Jackson. Oh, we haven't mentioned that, by the way. We haven't done a pod since then. He has a fracture in his back. He's out 8 to 10 weeks. What do you think they do with him? Because there's really 2 options. They're not going to – I don't think they're going to waive him. I think he's been too good. I don't think they'd risk losing him. So the 2 options are they either put him on IR and he's out for the season, or they carry him on the 53 and then they put him on IR so we can play again this year.
I think what they'll probably do is wait and see how he is, what kind of progress. I mean, they don't have to decide that for, a couple more weeks. So, yeah.
Except August 31st is cut down
2
day.
weeks.
Yeah.
A week and a half. Maybe that's not enough time, but I tend to think that they'll IR him. They won't put him on the 53 because he's had a really nice camp. I think he can play. I think he's got a future at the position, but honestly, especially if Ertz is here, how much is he really going to contribute?
Yeah. You know what I think I'd do? I think I would keep him on my 53, IR him after we get there, and then cut Richard Rodgers, tell him, look, we'll bring you back next week when your contract's not guaranteed anymore, your base salary. They've done that before with the Najee Goods of the world. So that's probably what I would do.
His base salary is so low.
It is, but why guarantee it?
Yeah, could be. But the play was right in front of me. I think were you on that side of the field?
Yeah,
it was awful.
It was a great effort play.
It really was.
And he just landed like square on his back, and you could tell he was in pain. And he stayed out there, and even went back into some reps. So we thought maybe he just got the wind knocked out of him, and then eventually they do some testing and then find the fracture.
Yeah. But good kid. He's come so far. We haven't seen the last of him.
Yeah, and the Eagles aren't going to lose him. I think waiving him is off the table.
He'll either be IR'd off the 53 or IR'd on the 53.
I think so, too. All right, let's go to stock down. Nate Herbig, I thought, didn't have a very good day. I think he played every snap. But little caveat, little asterisk, I guess. He's learning the position at center. But I don't know if he's at the point where they'd feel comfortable playing him there if something happened to Kelsey. I think they'd still move Isaac, or, eventually if Landon Dickerson plays this year, I don't think they can play Herbig at center.
Yeah, Luke Juriga, if he ever,
well, he's on IR now.
Oh, that's right. He's on IR.
They waived him,
he's done.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's weird because I thought they kind of liked him. I don't know how serious his injury is.
Well, they waived him. They injured him, so he's on IR. But eventually, they could come to a settlement with him and then sign him again. They have ways to bring him back if they want.
Right. But yeah, I think, and I don't think Dickerson's going to play this year. Maybe he will. Maybe, But and again, it's not. I don't know if it's totally fair to. To judge Herbie, who's trying a new position, essentially. Yeah. But you can't.
But he's gotten a lot of snaps. He's gotten a lot of reps there.
Yeah.
And, what was it, the third play of the game? He snaps one over Joe Flacco's head. You can't have that in a real game. That's a tide-turning play. You put the Patriots inside, 10-yard line, and they score 2 plays later?
Yeah. Yeah. Samuel was probably the best, safest option there.
Yeah, and I think that's what they would do.
Left guard.
Yeah, I think that's what they would do. Which maybe forces them to keep Sua.
Could be.
We'll see. Zach McPherson, another rough game for him. I was really curious to see how he would do because I didn't think he had the best performance last week. I thought he had a rough couple days against the Patriots and joint practices. Yep. So at that position particularly, you want to see how a guy responds. And it was a tough game for him. Early on, Cam Newton was targeting him quite a bit. And a little caveat there is Cam had a ton of time to throw because the defensive line wasn't getting home, but he was targeting him. And then, Zach on the one touchdown, I thought had a pretty poor attempt at a tackle. He ended up with a bunch of tackles, but a poor attempt at a tackle on that one, and he got called for a defensive hold later. So, not a great performance from him.
Yeah,
and he's our top backup outside, so it's not like
is.
A lot of these guys we said aren't going to play and they won't be on the team. He has a pretty big role.
Yeah, you're right. He's the third outside corner. Unless Avante is after, because it's been a tough. And again, this is he was a 4.
And then you have to be in the slot probably, unless they keep Josiah Scott.
Yeah, he was a 4th round pick, so it's a lot to ask him to be in this role. But he did get off to a really good start.
Excellent start.
It happens. This is what you see with rookies. They come back to earth. They hit the wall, the proverbial rookie wall, and you got to fight through it. And so far. That's not going so well for him.
Yeah, and we'll see how he responds.
Yeah.
I'm really curious because and it was funny. He was even asked this last week because he was kind of starting, but in this game, I think it's fair to say he's hit it.
Yeah.
So now how does he come back in these joint practices? How does he handle the final preseason game? I'll be watching him pretty closely.
Yeah.
Next one, Matt Pryor played all game, I think. I think he played every snap at right tackle. I don't think he should be on this team anymore. I don't know how else to say that.
I don't think he should have been on the team last year.
Yeah, he's a disappointment overall because early on they really liked Matt Pryor, and I did too. I thought his rookie year he showed a lot of promise, and you thought he's like the next Big V who can play guard and tackle in a pinch, and he can be a really good versatile depth piece. And he's versatile, but if he's not good in any of those positions, why keep him?
Are you? Is it considered being versatile if you're bad at like 5 different?
I think so.
4 different positions. You can do them all equally poorly.
Yeah, he's so big and he's decently athletic.
He can't play. He just can't play, Dave. Just say it. Can't play.
Especially at tackle. He's not quick enough.
Especially at football.
Yeah. Yeah. Next one was Matt Leo. I don't want to kill him too much, but
poor Matt Leo.
He's trying to learn the sport, and there are a few plays around. Man, it's one thing you're trying to get around the edge, but he's taking the scenic route there. He's going. He's almost out of bounds getting to the quarterback.
Did you see that one play where? He just got pushed over, like somebody just pushed him over, and he went rolling, and he got back up, and somebody else pushed him over.
And he's not even counting on the roster right now.
No.
He's an exempt player. They're trying to develop. He does have developable physical attributes, but
he's a big kid.
We're second year in this project, and I don't know if he's really that much closer to ever being an NFL player.
And I give Howie credit because they found guys in unusual ways.
Well, they didn't even find Matt Leo. He got assigned to them.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll take that back. I was just going to give Howie credit for, like, Mulata was a rugby player.
No, they found Mulata.
Greg Ward was a quarterback.
Yeah.
Tyree Jackson was a quarterback.
The NFL said, here's Matt Leo.
But I guess my point is those experiments don't always work.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't always work. And we always talk about the ones that do, but
yeah,
this one's not going great. And then Joe Flacco. I could have put Nick Mullins here, but look, I get that Flacco didn't have the full offensive line. I get that he found out he was starting minutes before the game, but he's 13, 14 years vet.
He's a Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, he played pretty poorly.
He was terrible.
Yeah.
He was, and it's a little concerning because, odds are he's going to have to play at some point, and he just wasn't throwing the ball where it needed to be. He just wasn't accurate. I didn't like his pocket presence.
His best ball was actually the back shoulder to Devontae,
Probably.
and Devontae turned too late.
Yeah. I just don't – I didn't like the way he played. Yeah. And it's not like the other guy's worse.
Yeah. What happened to Nick Mullins? He was not so good, but he was pretty good at the start of training camp.
And he's won games in the NFL.
Yeah, he has a pedigree. It's not like
he's got career passer rating of 86.
It's not like he's Clayton Thorson.
No.
Or Matt McGloin. Like, this guy's played in the league.
Christian Hackenberg.
Or Hackenberg. Yeah, this guy's played at a decently high level, and we see it at times in practice, and then he gets out here in these games, and he's awful. And I know there's a lot going on around him, but
that'd be a good gallery. The 10 worst Eagles training camp quarterbacks of all time.
That sounds like
there's
a project
4 of them
for
right
you.
there. All right, I'll work on that.
I don't think Mullins is in the list.
He's at the top of the list. No, Clayton Thorson's at the top of the list.
Training camp? No, because he started off training camp that first week.
Well, I'm talking preseason games.
Oh, preseason
yeah.
games. Okay.
Preseason games performance.
I'll give you that.
All right.
Anything else? Did I miss anyone? Stock up, stock down?
I don't think so. I think he covered it. Not a lot to choose from. Elijah Holyfield had a couple nice runs late in the game. He had a 20-yard run.
Did he?
Yeah, Nick Mullins actually had a nice block on it.
I didn't see that play.
We found something Nick Mullins can do well.
I went down to the press
you gave
room.
up.
Yeah.
Dave abandoned the press box.
Yeah. Jalen Hurts stock up because you didn't have to watch it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But not a lot.
The stomach hurt before.
Not a lot to choose from.
Yeah. We wanted to end this. We teased it earlier. Halftime show.
Unbelievable.
Biggest cheers of the night. Frisbee dogs.
They got the job done.
I mean, I'm not joking. Biggest cheers of the night for the Frisbee dogs. Like, not even close.
Yeah. Yeah, it was exciting. And they delivered. I mean, they were consistent.
That's my favorite halftime show.
Oh, mine is Script, Ohio, man. Eagles played in the Hall of Fame game in 2005.
What's Script, Ohio?
Script, Ohio. You ever watch an Ohio State football game?
Oh, like
the marching band.
Oh,
does
yeah.
Script,
Oh, that's
Ohio.
cool. I got you.
Oh my God! So they did that in Canton at the Canton
cool.
McKinley Stadium at halftime of the Eagles. I think they played the Raiders in the Hall of Fame game in 2005. And I mean, I was born in Columbus. My dad taught at Ohio State, so I'm not an Ohio State football fan, but I got a little affinity for the marching band.
Okay.
And Script, Ohio, and seeing it in person.
Is that what they're called? Script? I should probably know that.
Yeah, Script, Ohio. So yeah, go to YouTube and just.
I've seen them. Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And it's like a big honor to be the dot on the eye, right? Like, that's like a special role for the guy who gets it.
Yeah.
I think I've heard that, right?
I guess.
If there's one spot you want to be in the word Ohio, it's the dot on the eye.
I heard the serif on the H. No. Yeah, that could be. That would make sense.
It's always like a senior.
Oh, is that right?
I think so.
Okay.
I might be making it up.
I mean, I like marching bands, period.
I do too.
I love marching band. I love a good marching band. But Frisbee dogs are a close second. And it was, I mean, I think there were 2 throwers, chuckers.
Yeah, and there were 2 dogs. One dog started, and I don't even know where the other dog came from.
Well, there's supposed to be 3, but the one dog had some stomach issues. Got taken to the vet. But no, but the it was funny, like, and I mean they were throwing the frisbee like 40 yards down the field.
The longest completions of the night.
But that's for sure. But the cool thing is watching, like, the dogs have incredible makeup speed.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Frisbee's here and it's coming down, the dog's here, and somehow it makes up that ground and goes up and gets it. And the only mix-up was when there were two dogs. One of them was coming back to the thrower, and the dog that was running the pattern got distracted and started following that dog around. Yeah. And the Frisbee landed on the grass. But other than that, it was
well, they'll watch the tape, they'll correct it, and they'll improve next time.
Well, yeah. They're going to have joint practices at the kennel.
All right, that's probably a good time to tell you if you enjoyed this podcast, and I don't know why in the world you would at this point, but
we did the best we could with what we had.
That's
we
true.
didn't have give us a lot to work with. The Eagles got outgained 486 to 160. They got outgained by 323 yards.
At one point during this game, Rube turns to me and goes, "We got to do a podcast on this." If you enjoy the podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, click the like button there and subscribe there as well. We appreciate that. We do read the comments. We'll be back with you guys
live from Florham Park, New Jersey. Not live, but yeah, we'll be podcasting from Jets from somewhere up there.
Yeah, we'll have a few pods next week that you can keep an eye out for. And that's it. For Rube, I'm Dave. We'll talk to you soon.